Hi, welcome to Miss Music. On this video, what I thought I'd do is take a look at the 5 most important concerts that I've been to. Now that it's possible to see bands again after nearly 2 years of not being able to go to live concerts, I started thinking about all the bands that I had seen in the past, and I realized quite a lot of them were slipping from my memory. So I started to make a list, and then I was thinking, what is it about some of these concerts that have stayed with me over these years? What are the best concerts I've seen? So these are not the best ever concerts, these are the best concerts that I have been lucky enough to go to. I've only picked my 5 favourite concerts, which was quite difficult to do, and I kind of wanted to make the list longer, but it would be too long. So some really special concerts didn't make it onto this list. I'm thinking about concerts like Tori Amos, who I saw before she released her first album. I saw her in Belfast. She was on stage, just her and a piano. That was it. And the concert was electrifying. It was a really incredible concert. Or perhaps another really memorable concert that hasn't made it onto the list was Elliott Smith. So I saw Elliott Smith when I was living in France, and Elliott Smith played on the day that the French were competing in the finals of the World Cup, and he was meant to come on stage at a certain time, and he had to wait nearly 2 hours before playing because the World Cup was playing out and the concert venue had a big screen with it playing on. And when he came on stage, I was struck by just how broken this man looked. He was very scruffy, very poorly dressed. He looked kind of ill, I think. And then when he started singing, it was like a voice of an angel. It was just incredible to hear this voice coming from this broken looking man. So at number 5 is Rush, and this was Rush playing the Signals album, the Signals tour. And I guess it's a concert that's always stayed with me because it was my first really, big concert. They were playing at Wembley Arena. Before Rush, the first band I'd seen was Marillion playing at a local town hall, a very, very small venue. And that was electrifying as well. It was the first concert I'd been to, and I was just amazed at how theatrical concerts could be. At that time, there was no way of knowing what the concert was going to be like because there was no YouTube, there was no internet, you couldn't see the concert before you went. And I was just amazed by Marillion and how frightening Fish was at the time. But Rush was in this huge venue. It's the first time I'd been to one of these really big concerts. There were big screens projecting images. It was quite amazing. And for me, Rush was one of the bands that really got me into music. So it's very special seeing them. And I was just amazed that they played, I would imagine, for over 2 hours. They had 2 halves to the set, and I think they've always done that. And not only did they play all the Signals stuff, they played all the tracks that had kind of got me into Rush, the tracks that I really loved. So number 4 on the list is Queen, and that was when they played Knebworth, I think in 1986. And again, it was a phenomenal concert. I wasn't a huge Queen fan at the time, but the concert was just amazing. And looking back on it, I just remember how things have changed with concerts. I remember a couple of friends of mine wanted to come to the concert, so I got up quite early in the morning. I drove to Knebworth to the box office. I bought them a couple of tickets, and then I drove home. Today, if I want to see a really big band, I have to buy the tickets nearly a year in advance. There's no way I could get them on the day of the concert from the box office. And it's kind of funny because it took me 20-25 minutes to drive to Knebworth from where I lived, and then we went back in the afternoon for the concert. I think it took over 2 to 3 hours to get to that concert when everyone was converging on the site in the afternoon. I think there was about 120,000 people who attended that concert, and I remember not being particularly close to the stage, being quite far back. But the amazing thing was that I felt like I was there at the front. And that was the power, I think, that Queen had, and particularly Freddie Mercury, of just drawing in an audience and making an audience feel completely involved in the show. If you watch the Live Aid concert Queen performed, it's incredible and you get that energy, but that's 20 minutes. When I went to see them, you had that energy for nearly 2 hours. You know, how does anyone do that? Just incredible. If you were there, what did you think of it? So number 3 is Roger Waters, and this is the pros and cons of hitchhiking tour, and the only time I've seen Roger Waters live. And today, when you look on YouTube at his concerts, especially the most recent one, the way he uses technology and video screens is incredible. And back then, you know, again, it must have been in the 80s, I imagine, he was using those types of screens. They were probably nothing as amazing as they are today. But for me, seeing it for the first time, it was incredible. I remember the concert was in 2 halves, and I remember going out to get something to drink and then coming back for the second half. And it seemed like the entire stage had just transformed into this huge living room. There was a giant television, windows, a coffee table. And then as the concert began, sound started building up. There was a car coming towards the windows, and then a huge explosion and fire everywhere. I just remember sitting there thinking, what is happening? What is going on here? It was incredible. So I love that concert, and I really, really like Pros and Cons of Hitchhiking, and to hear it being played in its entirety was brilliant. And then on top of that, it was Roger Waters playing live with Eric Clapton. I mean, there's got to be a brilliant concert, and it was. So number 2 is the White Stripes, and it was the Icky Thump tour. I'd never seen them before, and I was lucky enough to win, I think it was from a radio show, you had to phone in, free tickets, to go and see them do a warm-up gig in London in a place called the Tivoli Ballroom. So it was a ballroom, so already the venue was very atmospheric. And then they came on stage, just this drummer and this one guy with a guitar, and the noise they created between them was just phenomenal. I've never seen one guy play a guitar with so much energy and enthusiasm, and I was really blown away by how he was achieving what he was achieving. At times he's singing, he's playing the guitar, he's playing an organ. It was just brilliant. So what's number 1? Number 1, I think, is a concert that will stay with me for all times. It's not going to be one of those concerts I forget. And this was Fever Ray and the Triangle Walks tour. And again, if you were there, what did you think of it? I just thought it was absolutely incredible. It's so hard to describe, and I think you can see this concert on YouTube, but you'll never be able to experience what it felt like. It was completely pitch black, and then suddenly you have this tremendous bass from the first track they played, which was If I Had a Heart. And it shook every organ inside your body. It was so deep and so loud. It was like being assaulted. It was just incredible. And that went on for a while. It's complete darkness, and then there was a green laser that cut through the audience. There was a lot of smoke, so you had this kind of green line. And then on stage, you had the band come on, and it was complete darkness on stage, and it was just then lit by table lamps and standing lamps. I mean, literally table lamps and standing lamps, not some kind of weird lighting setup. It was weird because it was what it was. So you could hardly see the band. They were just these kind of silhouetted figures, and it just added to the eeriness. If you know that album, that the darkness and the eeriness of that album. And then the band were all on stage wearing costumes and these kind of weird shaped masks, so they looked slightly grotesque in the darkness, and just adding to the almost horror, I think, that this album sometimes evokes. And I just thought it was amazing to create a concert that really accorded with the feeling of that album. So they're my 5 favourite concerts, and I had to make a choice, and I realised I've kind of wheedled other concerts into that. And I've missed out, other concerts I love, like seeing Prince at the O2. I was completely not a Prince fan. I didn't know much of his music apart from the songs everyone knew. I wasn't that interested about going, and it's kind of, I became a convert. I became a Prince convert, and I really wish I'd have realized what a genius that man was sooner than I had. So there are other great concerts that I've missed out from that list I showed earlier. What are your favorite concerts, but why? What made them so good? I'd love to hear, and thanks for listening. Goodbye.